Siri, or Teachers at Siri's channel, and welcome once again. Okay, I'm back with another episode, me and my books again, so I'm back. It didn't take me as long as it did before, so that's a great thing. That's a good thing. And so over the weekend, I did complete 2 books. One that I had been reading way too long, and actually I was reading it with one of my students, and we'll get back on it later, but I finally finished it, a classic American novel, and also a classic by, likely a classic, I haven't read if it was a classic or not, but a classic by an Algerian writer. Okay, and then I want to talk about a few of my books that talk about the books that I'm currently reading. Okay, so the first book that I read is the one that I finished it over the weekend. I finished it on Saturday, and this one I have been reading it way too long, not very long, but it's no excuse to have started this book last year and still reading it. Okay, this is the classic American novel, The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton, and I actually was and still is reading it with one of my students. Okay, but my student is taking a break because she is she got into a summer camp program, and she is here in my country, but not where I live. She actually got a copy of this book. There was a book fair in her country. She lives in Brazil, and she got a copy of it and another book, and she asked, could we read the book together? So we are probably about halfway through it together, but I want to go ahead and finish it up so I could move on to other things. But this is the edition for the movie that was made back in the 1990s with Michelle Pfeiffer, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Winona Ryder. I always get her name twisted. And I went to see the movie when it came out years ago, but I can't remember anything of it for the life of me. But this book I gave 5 stars on Goodreads, and basically what the Age of Innocence is about. It's basically a love story. It's centered around Newland Archer, who is a young lawyer in New York City, and the setting of the novel is mainly in New York City among the rich classes, these patrician families in New York in the 1870s. And so Newland Archer is he is a young lawyer. He is engaged to be married, or he is planning to get married to a young woman from another wealthy family, but he falls under the spell of the beautiful and mysterious Ellen Olenska. Now, Ellen Olenska, even though she has a foreign name, her husband was foreign, and she grew up in New York. She and Newland knew each other as children, but then she married someone from Poland. The marriage fell through and became a nightmare, and so she has come back to the United States, into New York society, and really they don't know what to do with her because these families are very conservative. They're very close knit. And Ellen just does not fit the kind of lifestyle that they want, but Newland is fascinated. He is torn between his very conventional fiance May Welland and the mysterious Ellen Olenska. And so the book is a difficult read. The English level is sort of old-fashioned. It's kind of a slow read, but it's a good read. I think it's very much worth reading. And it's sort of like, he's looking at this woman who's, he is in love with his fiance that is very beautiful and conventional, but then he's also fascinated and charmed and under the spell of Ellen Olenska, who is very, sort of bohemian, like all that. So, and the society in New York, society at that time, just didn't know what to do with Ellen. He really didn't. But I do recommend this, and I plan to be reading more. I would like to, of Edith Wharton's other books. One of them I really want to read is Ethan Frome, and so I will be reading more of her books. Edith Wharton actually, she sort of grew up in that kind of social structure around wealthy people, and she even married into it, but her marriage failed, like Ellen Olenska, and she actually got the Pulitzer Prize. In fact, I think she was the first woman to ever get the Pulitzer Prize, which is the highest literary prize here in the United States. So I recommend The Age of Innocence. I may go back and actually look at the movie just to see, make some comparisons between the book and the movie. The next book I finished, the other book, is Children of the New World, a novel of the Algerian War by Assia Djebar. Okay, Assia Djebar was considered one of the great writers, North African writers, and the novel is set during the Algerian War. But the Algerian War of Independence is not the centerpiece of the novel. The novel is also not a linear novel. It basically focuses on the various lives of women and men in this small Algerian town with the rebels up in the hills fighting the French. And so this book, how can I describe it? Like I said, it's not linear. It doesn't tell a straight story. You have just an array of different characters, okay? And there were two characters in the book that really fascinated me, Leila and Sharifa. Okay, Leila and Sharifa. The women in the novel, they're of different social classes. Some of them are conservative backgrounds, others more liberal. One of the young women in the story is like a prostitute. She has affairs with like the French colonizers. So it's really interesting book. It's a poetic book. It is not a straight story. It's like the stories are interconnected with the men and the women in the story, but at the same time they are separate stories about each one. Okay, and I'm really fascinated by Leila. My two favorite characters were Leila and Sharifa. Assia Djebar herself, she was a feminist. Also, she was anti-colonial, anti-patriarchal. Her real name was Fatima Zahra Emalayan. Okay, and so this is actually her pen name. And so I will be likely reading more books by her. I really enjoyed Children of the New World. It is, like I said, it's a rather poetic novel, so it's different. It's really different. I like both. The Age of Innocence, it was very different, and then this is also very different. I really enjoyed these both, and I gave them both, this one and The Age of Innocence, 5 stars.